Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon, and as the title page says, I did my research project on the evolutionary perspectives on mental health. Before we get in, just a few things. It's important to note that mental health is very complicated. It's messy and deeply personal, a topic that affects individuals in a variety of ways. So it's important to recognize that discussions surrounding mental health may elicit emotions and experiences that can be challenging to navigate. As we explore the evolutionary perspectives on mental health, it is crucial to approach this topic with empathy, understanding, and respect for the diverse experiences of individuals dealing with mental health issues. I would also like to state that the content presented in this lecture is intended for educational purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. This lecture purely aims to provide insights into the evolutionary factors that may contribute to mental health issues, not diagnose or treat any specific mental health condition. Today, we are looking at mental health through an evolutionary lens. We'll explore how our ancient past, full of predators, tribal conflicts, and questionable hygiene, shaped the mental health challenges that we face today. Along the way, we'll discuss evolutionary history, the potential adaptive benefits of mental health disorders, the concept of evolutionary mismatch, and gene-environment interactions. So, here's our starting point. If mental health disorders are so debilitating, why didn't evolution weed them out? Well, it turns out that evolution isn't really interested in our happiness or comfort. Its only concern is passing on our genes. And sometimes traits that seem harmful in one context can actually be quite helpful in another. Neese and Williams argued that many mental health disorders might represent adaptations, features that evolved because they offered advantages in our ancestral environments. Take anxiety, for example. In the hunter-gatherer days, being hyper alert to threats like predators or rival tribes could mean the difference between life or death. If you heard a rustle in the bushes and assumed it was a lion, you'd survive. If you didn't, well, you probably weren't around long enough to pass on your genes. Depression, another condition, just as important as anxiety, is often viewed as pure dysfunction. Hagen suggested that depressive states could signal to the group that someone needed help, or in some cases, encourage energy conservation during tough times like famine or illness. So the takeaway here is that mental health disorders aren't necessarily flaws. They might be features. The problem arises, however, when those features are expressed in the wrong context. So let's dive a little bit deeper into how these conditions might have helped our ancestors. So we have three boxes here. Postpartum, the purple box, um, signals the need for help and increased social support. In Hagen's work, postpartum depression, he suggests, might have been an evolutionary strategy. By signaling distress, mothers could elicit help from their community, which was crucial in environments where raising a child was more so of a collective effort. Imagine living in a cave with a crying newborn and no sleep. Any extra hands would be a lifesaver, that's for sure. Let's head over to the blue box here on the left. Bipolar disorder. High energy and creativity may have aided leadership, and that should say mate, mat attraction. Um, so Hagen and also Sherman hypothesized that manic episodes may have had advantages in certain settings. In a harsh winter, a group leader bursting with energy and confidence might inspire their tribe to take risks, like hunting large prey. Of course, the depressive lows that follow are the trade-offs of such behavior. Even schizophrenia has been theorized to have roots in evolution. Some researchers suggest that its symptoms, like enhanced pattern recognition or creativity, might have been advantageous in problem solving or storytelling, which were absolutely essential for survival and social bonding. Just a side note here on schizophrenia and the storytelling. Um, if you think about people with schizophrenia, schizophrenia is associated with hallucinations, right? So if perhaps you were to experience hallucinations during that time period, a lot of that could have given rise to myths, rituals, and religious beliefs that united tribes. So that is that's a whole other shebang, but I just thought I would note that in there because I think it's quite interesting um, if you were to link schizophrenia, evolution, and religion. That's a whole other research, but something that I kind of branched off into as I was doing my research. Anyways, evolution is a balancing act. Traits that offer advantages in one scenario can become liabilities in another, leading us to our next topic, evolutionary mismatch. All right, there's my little guy. I made him on Canva art. I think I saw someone else use Canva art too. Quite a great little source there. um, all right, ancient brains, modern problems, evolutionary mismatch. This is where things get a bit tricky. Our brains are optimized for the environment of our ancestors, not for the modern world. It's this disconnect where evolutionary psychologists come in and say, evolutionary mismatch. Well, so for anxiety, in the past, social anxiety has helped us avoid conflict and maintain our standing in smaller tribes. Today, that same trait flares up when we're about to give a presentation or post on Instagram. The stakes are much lower, but our brains don't process that or understand that fact. Depression in an ancestral setting might have helped conserve energy during tough times or signal for help. But in today's more sedentary, isolated world, it can spiral into a chronic illness. And that's more serious, but I put on the presentation Netflix binge cycles because I imagine that's incredibly relatable. Um, just, yeah. Anyways, our environments have changed drastically. Fast food, social media, and 24-hour news cycles, especially lately, were not part of the deal when our brains were evolving. Singh pointed out that factors like poor diet, lack of exercise, and chronic stress amplify this mismatch, which exasperates mental health issues. So, modern life is like trying to run ancient software on a futuristic device. The result is that there's a lot of crashes. Finally, here we go. Next slide. I also made that little thing on Canva art. It took me a while. But yay, it looks cool. All right. Gene environment interactions. Here we are, the dynamic duo of mental health. Mental health disorders aren't caused by a single quote unquote bad gene. Anderson emphasizes that they're polygenic, meaning hundreds of genes interact to increase vulnerability. But here's the catch. Genes don't act in isolation. They need the right environment to express themselves. For example, someone with a genetic predisposition to anxiety might thrive in a calm, supportive environment, but place them in a high stress job or a chaotic household, and that same genetic trait could manifest as an anxiety disorder. Similarly, depression might be triggered by environmental factors like trauma, isolation, or even something as simple as seasonal changes, which I imagine a lot of us here in the Pacific Northwest might resonate with. In other words, our genes provide the blueprint, but our environment builds the house. This little interplay here is why a one size fits all approach to treatment just doesn't really work out. So, why should we care about evolutionary perspectives on mental health? Couple takeaways. One, reducing stigma. Two, better treatment. And three, prevention. When we understand mental health disorders as part of our evolutionary history, they stop being seen as personal failures. There's a complete narrative change here. So instead, they become part of what it means to be human, which offers space for more empathy. Also, evolutionary insights guide therapy, or can/should guide therapy in my own research. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, helps reframe our ancient survival instincts in the context of modern challenges. And finally, by aligning our lifestyles with our evolutionary needs through exercise, social connection, and exposure to nature, we can mitigate a lot of this mismatch and also support mental health. To wrap things up here, oh, here's my takeaways. I forgot to switch slides. Anyways, to wrap things up, mental health disorders aren't just random afflictions. They are deeply tied to our evolutionary journey, reflecting the pretty incredible adaptability and occasional trade-offs of the human brain. Yes, these traits can cause suffering, absolutely, but they've also helped our species survive, adapt, and thrive. Understanding mental health through an evolutionary lens doesn't just explain why we get sick, it helps us find ways to heal as well. So, the next time that you're overwhelmed with anxiety or frustration, just remember our ancestors were literally out there dodging predators and inventing fire. You can blame Darwin and remember that your brain is really just doing the best that it can in a world that it wasn't designed for.